Hi, Tumi. Welcome to the GIBS Alumni Business Club podcast. Thank you so much for your time. And today we'd really just like to talk to you about your business. So yeah, please can you just introduce your business to us? And then we'll just jump into, what your business is and yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Tumi Mphahlele and I run a business that locally assembles lithium ion batteries. These are the batteries that are used mostly in solar PV installations and backup power. As you can imagine right now where there is a lot of load shedding, these are the kind of hardware that people are looking for. We are located in Fourways area and we have been manufacturing or let's say locally assembling from 2019.
Nice. So it's quite a new one, 2019, 2020. So about 4-ish years old now.
Yeah, we are 4 years old at the facility, but actually we started the thinking around the business was already 2018. It was registered formally in 2018.
2018.
And so the first time we moved into facilities was in 2019 February. So
nice.
We are over 4 years. We are looking towards 5 years.
Anniversary just not 5, yeah. Okay. Okay, good. So to me then, just a quick one, like what do you do? You mentioned assembly, you mentioned you have a facility, you mentioned lithium ion batteries. What exactly does your company do? And yeah.
We assemble, so that means we do not have all of the raw material to actually be called a manufacturer. So all over the world, a lot of people who produce lithium ion batteries would get the most basic cell from China. There are other mega factories around the world, a bit fewer that actually produce lithium. But the most basic cell comes from China, so we import the most basic cell from China, and then we also import a battery management system. A battery management system is like a circuit that controls the battery. For example, a battery needs to know that it's full, 100%, it's 50%. It needs to know that there's under voltage, over voltage issues. It needs to protect itself against over current and temperature and all of that. That circuit that actually controls how the battery works. It's called the battery management system. We're importing that at the moment, but we are fortunate enough to be in advanced stages of producing our own battery management system. It's our own IP. We have designed it, and we're working with a company in Pretoria in producing it. We are in the testing phase of that project.
Oh, nice. Sure. Okay. Just a dumb question now. Does the battery in my car have a battery management system on it? Does it?
Yeah.
So every battery has a battery management system on it?
Yeah. Otherwise, it can't be controlled. Some battery management systems are really smart. Some battery management systems are really basic. And so the one in your car would be more or less basic. But it needs to know that its state of charge, whether it's 100% or 50%. It needs to know whether what it needs to do.
Yes.
So it's a control system.
Okay, never knew that. Okay, so Tumi, let's go back again then to 2018 or 19, whichever one you're comfortable with. How did you come up with the concept to assemble batteries locally, and how did you start, just the dream and how you actually brought it to life?
I was an energy entrepreneur much earlier than that. Around 2012, 2013, I was already in the energy business, but we were trying to set up a large-scale solar IPP, and I think we were pretty ambitious there because small IPPs never really made it into the mainstream IPP sector for obvious reasons. It's very difficult to have a small generator competing with large generators in terms of price, etc. But so I ran out of money trying to set up that business, and I went to work. But when I came back, when I decided I had saved enough money to start all over, my focus was on manufacturing. I thought, look, I don't want to do a business that will soon see me back at work.
Yeah.
You know that problem. you run out because these projects are long term.
Yes.
They take too long to come to, and you don't even have guarantees. You can work a project and later something happens, some government regulation changes, and you have put all your energy into a long term project that never really got in line. So my previous partners that I was working with at the time when I went back to work, I went back to speak to them and say, look, I don't know, I want to start, but I don't want to do things the way I used to. I need to have a more sustainable model, and that model means I need to make things. I want to be able to be elsewhere, and work is going on.
Yeah.
You know, when you are in a consulting type and on a project development type, if you are not there, it doesn't move.
Yeah.
Right. So there's all of that. So then I was introduced. I said, look, if you are looking at manufacturing or assembly, you should be looking at batteries, because they are now on an upward swing, because in the past the focus was on saving money, especially for large industries, right? You do peak shaving and all of that. You put in solar, it's only for during the day, you save a lot of money. But now it has come to a point where it's no longer about costs, it's about availability, security of supply. So the batteries then come in, because even if it's at night and you're operating at night and there's no solar, what happens?
Yeah.
And so battery becomes one of the fastest growing, or let's say battery assembly becomes one of the fastest growing sectors in the energy as a whole. And that's how we actually got into the energy business.
Sure. Okay. So quite interesting. So went back to work and then started something that you could actually work hands off, and I think that was very practical. So how did you get your client? So you're assembling batteries, great. So how do you get someone to say, okay, I'm going to procure 10 batteries, whatever. I'm not even sure. Is it kVA? How they're rated? Like, if your kVA is like, how did you get that first client? Like, was it while or after you had built the battery? How did you go about getting a first client?
So I was lucky enough to have started the business with people that were already in the business. So two of my co-founders, one was a highly technical designer in that field, and the other one was business development as well, and was coming from they both worked at some point for a similar company. That helped a lot, because that meant that they had a few people that they could actually call on to show them, and also because they had some bit of track record as well. So they're able to say, look, you remember me when I was working under this scenario. I'm now in a new, and this is, and maybe you could have a look at what we have done and how we have improved from where we were, how we used to do things. Look at how we do it now.
Sure.
So
Okay.
it helped a lot. Outside of that, I do not know how it would have been possible. The networks were quite important.
Sure. Okay. So then I guess the common theme is that you have to know someone somewhere to start in a way. And who are your major clients in terms of, is it facility managers, or is it just someone who manages, is it mostly who's your typical, what's that persona like, the person? So let's say now GIBS wants a battery, whatever, batteries for load shedding. Who do you talk to at GIBS?
At first we focused mainly on residential units, and these were smaller batteries, so it was very easy to actually speak to people at residential level, because they make the decisions. But they were not really making the decisions directly through us. We were distributing through what we call installers. These are the guys who will come to your house and size of system and come in, and in many cases they are the ones who decide what hardware to use. For example, the hardware that's in my house, which we built long before we actually started this business, not the hardware that I chose. Right, it was chosen for me by the installer. So we need to make sure that the installer understands our product. They need to know exactly what the advantage is of having our product, especially if it's new. So over the last few years, we've perfected the product itself and learned a lot. And so while we're still talking to installers, we are now talking to even bigger installers, EPC type, that are talking to large customers as well. So property owners, large property owners. We could be talking directly to property owners. As
Yes.
we do try. The only problem is it's very difficult to present a battery solution. You need to present an energy solution. And a battery is just a component. It's like somebody who manufactures inverters and tries to go and sell an inverter. That inverter will need a battery,
yeah.
panels and all of that. So the people that actually package are the ones that are talking to those larger users. But it is our duty to speak to those people that speak to the end users.
Sure.
And but over the time, so now what has happened is the project owners would come directly to us and say, I have a project, can you help me cost? We now are in a position where we are slightly moving into commercial and industrial. In fact, in the last 3 months, we have delivered two of our biggest high voltage batteries. One is containerized solution. Is sitting as we speak at the large farm in Mpumalanga. As a result of that, we now have more requirements to actually quote, because the solution is now out there, and so we need, so in a sense we would still be speaking to installers,
yes,
and teams of people that are working on light commercial. We're talking small office parks, but we are now talking to EPCs that are looking at large systems. People are asking us to quote directly battery only, storage only, because they have the capacity and the capability to bring all of these components together.
Okay, so the funding, you did say that you saved and you. So how did you? So now you're back in the business through your savings. How do you scale the business up? Like, how did you fund the day to day?
Yeah, the funding was hard. I was thinking that once you've done your initial prototype and you have a working product, it actually gets better. And then, but the goalposts keep on moving. They're like, oh, but we are not 2 years. And so it took us a bit of time to realize that actually the funding that you're looking for needs to be appropriate for the stage of business where you're at, because we were now seen as a startup.
Yes.
But a lot of times people would come to visit us and say, you need to speak to this company and that company, SEFA, ITC, all these development funders and all of that stuff. But their risk, their tolerance for risk is not as we expected. And so we even banks, the only time a bank could possibly fund you is if you get some ESD funding and all of that stuff, but not on a commercial basis. So after toing and froing and battling a bit in that space, we found a private equity partner that was almost at the end of their funding process, and they said, look, we will provide funding for you, but our main aim will be to actually de-risk and then get even more funders into the business. In my DBSA days, we used to call that crowding in. So we will crowd in more funders, and they were able to put in some funding. I think it was around November in 2020. But by July 2021, we were able to crowd in another funder and private equity as well. And so that's where we are on another funding round, because the business is really the demand is really huge. The demand is right up there, and we need to be able to catch up with that.
Sure. Okay, so tell me about this initial funder that you got. Like, how did you, so you're saying you went to the banks were not budging, IDC not budging. So how did you find this initial funder who crowded in, as you put it?
they think of themselves as they are funding the missing middle. So there are various types, and there are various levels. You find that at lower levels, people looking for 100,000, 200,000,
Yes.
500,000, maybe a million rand, they actually can get that. And then there's people that would call us. In fact, one of the initial funders that came to see us and told us that ticket is too small. In fact, you are underplaying that business. Show me something around 200 million so we can speak.
Sure.
So then you have those ones that says, look, whether we're funding 2 million or we're funding 2 billion, at the end of the day, we're going to sit here and be doing the same due diligence and going through the same stuff. So we don't prefer to look at that size of ticket. So, but these particular funders that we spoke to, they were saying they're looking for that missing middle, and they're looking for particularly startups that are not in the sexy kind of environment. But we made a good case to them, because they were then able to see where we are trying to go. And they do not particularly ask you, let's see all of your cash flows and all of that, because we are a startup. Let's see how much profit you're making. I mean, even to this day, there would be companies that would be looking for a 3-year-old company to be already making huge profits. And normally that's not the case, because you are actually plowing back. As we speak, we've moved facilities twice.
Sure.
And every time we move, it's almost, for us who manufacture batteries, you have to move with all of your
machinery.
You have to, all of those inverters that we use to test and to commission and all of that stuff. We have to move that. So all of that is part of what you would see as operating costs. Some types of funders will only catch you much later when your financials are looking a lot more profit driven.
Yes. Ooh, okay, so if this initial funder, quite an interesting phenomenon really, because anyone wanting funding, they always either want you to put some collateral down, or you should have some healthy profits, as you said. So for me, I'd just like to know, like, the relationship between you and him. So what drives it? What makes him feel, and this is really just for startups out there or scale-up companies out there, like, what's that metric that they then track? Because it's definitely not profitability. Like, what's the particular metric that everyone should be on the lookout for? Should they be lucky enough to get a funder like you did, the missing middle funder?
They look at earnings, and remember, private equity does not stick around for too long.
Yes.
So they come in, let's say your earnings typically, let's say your earnings are 2 million, right? They would like to exit when you have 10x or more than that. So then, and the good thing about these kind of funders is they actually help you along, so that they reach their goals as well. And they can then sell their shares to others who then also take on just on like that. So so when you look at the funding, it's not about just the cash. It's what else they can assist you with. What else are they actually bringing onto the table? The particular funder was able to also bring in additional staff for six or so months. We had employees that were sponsored, things like that, so that when you grow, they know that when you grow, you actually need that. Not only do you need skills, but you need really good skills. And so they will look at that metric. So anyone coming, our second funders, for example, they have a 5-year term almost. So they come in, put in the money. In 5 years, they need to then cash out and sell their stake to someone else who is going to pay. But then you can only do that when you reach the right earnings.
Yes. So
they use earnings multiples. You must have heard about that. When they evaluate the company, they would look at earnings multiples. So if your revenue, let's say, is 4 million, they look at maybe they will think your company is worth about 12 million. It's a 3 times earnings multiples. Whether you use 3 or 4 or 2, you have to motivate for that. So they would be tracking that you're getting the earnings, and that's not very hard to do, because, like I say, if you have the right partners in the first place, you will see those earnings, and they will be reaching their goals in the process.
Sure, okay, do you know? Quite an interesting story, like typical MBA story. So you did mention that your other founders, they did bring in people to actually staff, complement your staff. So that's my next question. How's your day-to-day like, how do you run your company? Like, how do you manage other aspects? I know you still maybe a scale-up, in terms of culture, how do you make sure that everyone is motivated to work, like, typical practical things like that you have implemented in your company to say, great guys, this is what makes a good startup, because I'm taking it like a startup, you can't pay obviously a JSC top whatever company salary, like you have to complement that with something within the company that, your staff always feels motivated, they always put in the 110% in. So
yeah, that is actually quite rough, I must say, because you need the skills, and there is no other way you can get them if you can't pay for those skills. We've tried to start offering share options and things like that, but this does not take on well in our kind of economy. It's very difficult to motivate people at that level where you say, look, I don't know, it might not be they say it might not be next year, but and our kind of business, our average age is actually 28. So we have a really young. Yeah. Almost everyone that's in the company came in as their first job. So to be able to motivate and get people working, but it's the most important thing is to be able to choose the right people. And that's very, very difficult. And by the way, if you use agencies, the agencies are also expensive. So they are not geared towards small business that are startups, whether they are helping me staff my startup, or they are helping an APSA, or whoever fund is, they will charge the same. So imagine what that means to a small business. So it's really around, I still participate in all of the interviews that we do, and we have interviews almost every week. We employ at the rate at which we're employing. It's most of my day is around that, finding the right people, and sometimes we do not know when we're going to employ the person, and sometimes we lose them because we couldn't make the offer quick enough. Yes. But so on a daily basis, honestly, to find the right skills, and sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we make mistakes, and we have to live with them. But it's not very common. We have learned how to find the right skills and ask the right questions and push in the interview to determine whether the person will be able to do what we are actually trying to do. So it's a very difficult balance, and then to make it work, because in some cases the young people have to work really hard. Yeah. And in many cases they also have a lot on their shoulders. I say to people when they join, when you are coming to us, you're coming as an engineer, you're going to work as an engineer. Yeah. You go to a large company, they could put you there for 3 months and say there's a project coming, just wait there, you'll see it. And people going past you there, when you actually are not there waiting for that project. Yeah. You are not really utilized. With us, not only are you going to be utilized, you're going to demand so much from you. Yeah. And you know what that does. What that does is you also, after 2 years, you can't keep them either. Yes, because they know so much. Super sharp. Sure. So you have to constantly, be able to do that, and some are going overseas as well. Yes. So on a daily basis, staff is our biggest. It will occupy half my life, but cash flow as well. We need to manage cash flow really, really, really tightly, and fortunately we have partners that are assisting us with that, where we are battling, but we are putting different mechanisms, the way we speak to our suppliers, especially our suppliers in China. If you've shown the track record, and they know that they depend on us in this market. Yes. So when we say to them, look, this is the payment terms, they want to work with us. Sure. So the track record hasn't always been there, but But sometimes when it's hard, you have to remember that you've already walked.
Yeah.
You can't stop right there.
Okay, so Tumi, then next, so we've gone back in time. We are where you are, how you got to here, and how you run your day-to-day operations. So Tumi, then let's say someone is interested, in reaching out to you. You have quite a good story behind you. You're well funded. You're properly running business. How do they get hold of you, and what's the typical sales process really?
People can get hold of me at Tumi Mphahlele. My email is tumi.m@igen.com. Igen, you spell it I-G3N. So innovation generation.
Okay.
Our typical process is really fairly long because, as you can imagine, you have to have people that can use the product and people that have some skill in using this kind of product. On the residential and light commercial, we are happy for people to come to us, and then we will direct them to our partners in the network that can help them size the product and install and all of that. Even on the commercial and industrial side as well, more and more of people in that sector coming directly to us because they have the capacity to size and all of that. But if you keep to my email address, tumi.m@igen.com, I'll be able to respond.
Okay. No, thanks for that. And then, to me, one other question then. We'll listen on the podcast if there's anything that you can give away for free to the listeners. Do you have any giveaways? Even if it's an analysis or, yeah.
Yeah. Small businesses that require funding or that require energy and are battling to get the funding or to get the energy security they're looking for. I think we need to hear from them because we're looking at an opportunity to have a small business kind of product that will speak to exactly that. Is actually getting very dire, the level at which small businesses are closing down because of energy security issues. Yeah. So I would like to hear from especially people that are running businesses and are close to giving up because they see no way they will be able to fund for the energy.
So still you should reach on your email.
Yeah.
Okay, can you say that again one last time?
tumi.m@i-g3n.com.
Okay. No, thank you so much to me, and especially for that giveaway. It's really, really needed, yeah. And obviously, you can just chat with a small business owner just to see how you guys can partner moving forward. Okay, thank you so much to me. Really wishing you all the best for the road ahead.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.